The Vatican is the smallest independent country in the world, covering just 44 hectares, right in the middle of Rome, Italy's capital. Every year, millions of people gather in its famous square, walking under the big dome and its Renaissance architecture. But what most people don't know is that the real charm and mystery of the Vatican isn't what's on the surface. The most important and fascinating parts of the Vatican lie underground. In this episode of Unknown Factor, we're diving into the secrets beneath the Vatican. There's a place under St. Peter's Basilica called the Vatican Grottos, a network of tunnels and tombs, right beneath the exact spot where tourists walk around all day. This isn't just some dark, dusty hallway. It's been the burial place for over 90 popes. Basically, it's an underground cemetery right in the middle of the church. Now think about the symbolism here. Every new pope stands directly over the graves of the old popes. It's like a direct line connecting the very first pope, St. Peter himself, all the way to the current pope. Whenever a new pope holds a ceremony, it's like the last 2,000 years of popes are down there with him. But it's not just about symbolism. You can see the art and architecture right in those tombs too. These underground corridors are apparently part of a whole network. It's crowded and chaotic, but it's actually built right on the foundation of the old St. Peter's Church, the same church that was there before the current one. Before this church was built, there was another one called Constantine's Church, built in 324 AD by Emperor Constantine. It was built exactly over the tomb that Christians believed was St. Peter's grave. When Constantine's engineers wanted to build this church, they faced a big problem. There was a huge Roman cemetery underground called the Necropolis, full of family tombs. But instead of destroying the graves, they just covered the whole cemetery with soil. They filled it up to the top, built an artificial platform, and then put the church on it. Some of the columns you see today are the original ones from Constantine's church and the current St. Peter's Basilica, built in the 16th and 17th centuries, still stands on the same 4th century foundation. The Vatican isn't what it looks like in photos. Beneath this tiny city lies a ton of history and strange stories. From 756 to 1870 AD, the popes ruled a country called the Papal States, right in the middle of Italy, and it was full of wars and violence. There were battles, like the Battle of the Barras, the War of the Eight Saints, and lots of other conflicts that sometimes didn't even make sense. Christian values didn't really match up. Back then, the country had tons of enemies, and even the Pope wasn't always safe. A famous example is the sack of Rome in 1527, when Emperor Charles V's soldiers, who hadn't been paid, attacked the city and captured Pope Clement VII. The Pope had to pay a ransom of 400,000 Venetian gold coins to secure his freedom. That's about $56 million today. Because of this, popes always needed an escape route, so they built a secret passage called the Passetto di Borgo, an almost 1 kilometer long corridor that connected the Vatican to the Castel Sant'Angelo. This passage was built in the 13th century, and it actually came in handy for several popes. For example, Pope Alexander VI used this passage to escape from French soldiers in 1494. Or Pope Clement III fled through the same route when the Holy Roman Empire's forces took over Rome, and the Swiss Guard stood their ground against the enemy, risking their lives to save the Pope. This corridor still stands today as a symbol of the Vatican's bloody past. But the truly secret part of the Vatican is the Vatican Secret Archives, which since 2019 have been called the Vatican Apostolic Archives. This archive is closed to the public and contains It's an 85-kilometer-long archive, packed with documents covering 12 centuries of church history. From letters between popes and kings, to Michelangelo's complaints about his rights for painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling, court records of Galileo, even the trial documents of the Knights Templar and Martin Luther's expulsion order, all here. One of the most famous cases is Henry VIII's request to annul his marriage, which got rejected and ended up changing the whole religious history of England. And that's not all. There are tons of files the church never wants people to see. For example, not all the Vatican's collaboration documents with the Nazis during World War II have been made public yet. Pope Francis's decree only made parts of it public. Besides that, financial scandal files, secret diplomatic correspondences, and sensitive religious court cases are all hidden in this archive, and getting access is really tough and official. You need at least a bachelor's degree, a recommendation letter from a university, and you have to clearly explain what you're looking for. If you get past that, you have to go to the Vatican and do an in-person interview in Italian. No less. If you manage to get through all that, then you can, with a special officer accompanying you, enter the archive. And only look at the exact documents you requested. This strict control means only people who aren't going to embarrass the church get into the archives, and they can also hide a bunch of important documents right there among the shelves. Because if you don't even know what to look for, you won't notice they're there. This approach is how the Catholic Church has managed to keep its dark secrets and stories hidden under a veil of mystery for thousands of years. Now, let's talk about a strange discovery. In 1939, workers who were renovating the underground caves of St. Peter's Church accidentally hit an old wall. When the wall collapsed, they found a dark tunnel that turned out to be a necropolis, basically a cemetery. This is an ancient Roman site that had been forgotten for over 1,600 years. Walking into this cemetery feels like stepping right onto a Roman street from 2,000 years ago. There are 22 tombs here, dating back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, like the tomb of Al-Rabi'a and the Egyptian tomb. In these tombs, thou can see signs of pre-Christian religious beliefs and art, and gradually Christian symbols start appearing alongside the older ones. This place shows you the history of religious transformation in ancient Rome, right before your eyes. At the far end of the cemetery, thou reachest one of the most important spots in the Vatican, just 12 meters below the main altar of St. Peter's. Archaeologists found a simple tomb with a small monument from the 2nd century AD. This monument is called the Trophy of Gaius and shows that people were worshipping this site centuries before Constantine. In 2013, Pope Francis officially displayed some bones found during these excavations, and many believe they belonged to St. Peter himself. Scientific tests also show these bones belonged to a strong man around 60 years old, matching historical accounts of Peter. If this is true, it means the entire massive and powerful Vatican is actually built over its founder's grave. It's built layer by layer through history and symbols, with Peter's tomb at the lowest point. But honestly, that's pretty much all that's actually beneath the Vatican, because the Vatican keeps everything so secretive that tons of weird theories and rumors have come up. Some say there are documents about collaboration with the Nazis and Holocaust victims' assets still hidden in secret archives, and they'll never be made public. There are millions of other documents the Church doesn't even admit exist, let alone release. And there's even a story about a time machine there. We made a video about that before. But anyway, no one really knows what scandals are hiding in there. Hidden papers and documents that were worth hiding for hundreds or even thousands of years, until some unknown factor. Goodbye.